I just love it when the right get their knickers in a knot over anything they perceive as being woke. An opportunity to be able to have a go at the left or anybody, I guess, that has an opinion that is different to theirs. And I think this idea of wokeness is becoming a little bit extreme and is used particularly by people like Andrew Bolt to cover issues which one wonders whether they're actually relevant or not, or whether it's just this opportunity they have to have a shot at what they consider to be the left or wokeness or a system or a debate or a discussion that is just contrary to their own. And we're seeing this again with regard to Andrew Bolt and the latest issue for him, which is about a pub or a group of pubs, which are actually owned by a Singaporean company, some 200 pubs in fact, that were asked to not celebrate Australia Day. Now, this is a month and a half away, so I don't know why it's such a big deal right now. And remember that this is a Singaporean organisation who do spend a lot of time within their cluster of hotels to deal with community issues. So things that like LGBTQI plus issues and a whole host of other social issues. They're trying to be socially progressive, I guess, about having days which celebrate some of these issues that they believe their community that they serve are interested in. And that they're bringing this into the pub culture, I think is really a good thing. But according to Andrew Bolt and his right-wing cohorts, it is not a good thing. It is something which we must become distressed about. Even though they didn't put a ban, they just said they're not celebrating. I don't know what that means. They're not putting up Australian flags, or they're not putting up banners of any description, or they're not giving away beer. I don't know what it means, quite frankly, and neither does anybody else. But it certainly is a reason for Andrew Bolt to get a wee bit upset about it. So here he is and his cohort of crazy people talking about it.
Banned on Australia Day by the country's second biggest pub operator, Australian Venue Co. More than 200 pubs. What idiots. How can you be in the hospitality industry?
I don't know what he means by what it is. For those people that have a go at me for making ad hominem statements, but I just remind you that this man makes more than I do.
In pubs and dealing with tens of thousands of ordinary Australians drinking your beer and think banning Australia Day, that's a great idea.
They're not, see, this is what really pisses me off. They're not banning Australia Day. They're simply not celebrating it. There's a big difference. They can't ban Australian Day. It's a national event. And I'm going to show you in a moment that it's quite recent, in fact, that we have Australia Day. For those of you who think that we've always had Australia Day since the day that we were colonised or raided by the British, then, you're wrong. It's only very recently, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But here we go, more of this crazy man.
Joining me, Louise Roberts, Sky News contributor, and Liz Thorrough from The Late Debate here on Sky weeknights at 10 p.m. Louise, I mean, seriously, it is astonishing to me that this pub chain tried this after Woolworths got smashed for doing the same. It makes you wonder.
Now, they are not equivalent. Woolworths got smashed because they were selling clothing that was Australia Day stuff, and they weren't smashed because of that. They decided not to sell it because it simply wasn't selling, you great moron. But, let's distort facts. Who cares?
What silo they're in. But should we actually be encouraged that this time they didn't even take a day to fold?
And wasn't that good? Exactly. So the people power really overturned that ridiculous ban. I've got so many questions about this.
It wasn't a ban. It wasn't a ban. It was just a decision not to celebrate it. And we don't know what that actually means, neither do you.
Did they actually talk to staff? Are staff who work in pubs offended by Australia Day? If so, why don't they work in another industry? There's plenty of people who would like to take
An assumption. We don't know whether that's true or not.
those jobs.
Anyway.
We've got a Singapore-based, I believe, foreign company owning this pub business. So is it, they're all behind a death by 1,000 cuts to Australia Day. These people are relentless. They will not stop until they've killed off our national day. And that makes us the laughing stock the world over, I think, Andrew, because if you think of, you spent any time in the UK, which I have, when Australia Day rolled round, we absolutely loved celebrating it and we were so proud to be Australian. It's only since I've come back to Australia, I can see there's people here who are not proud to be Australian, and that breaks.
Now, this point really annoys me because, firstly, how dare you speak for me? You don't. In fact, of all the people that don't speak to me happens to be Sky News. But to assert that I don't like being an Australian or I'm not patriotic because I don't see Australia Day as you do, and that I probably see it more as an invasion day than what you do, because we have that difference of opinion, doesn't make me less Australian. You're objecting, you're making people like myself who have a different view of Australia Day seem less, and I hate the word patriotic, but less Australian, which is crazy. In fact, I would argue the opposite. I would argue, in fact, that I'm more Australian because I see what Australia Day actually meant to Indigenous people and the way we've continued to treat them over 200 years. Indicates to me that I'm more socially progressive around what Australia Day means than you narrow-minded conservative people such as this particular woman.
I think all these woke meisters come in and just try and chip it away at our national pride. And it was so good today that people said, no, enough. We're not going to go to your pubs. We're going to look up your pubs on the website and we're not going to go there anymore. We're going to vote with our credit cards. We're not spending money with you.
I can guarantee you right now that there'd be few people who wouldn't even know, there'd be a lot of people who wouldn't even know who these pubs were that belonged to this conglomerate. They wouldn't have any idea. And let's face it, people really think, well, okay, is my local pub one of them? And do I care enough to be able to care about that? Because on Australia Day, it's going to be open anyway. What's the deal?
But it's interesting, Liz, I actually take a lot of heart. I would have thought, to be honest, that people were smart enough to work out that Woolworths drew a line over this kind of stuff, under it, and that was it. These people somehow...
They weren't selling their products, you clown.
Thought they'd try their luck and got whacked so hard and so fast. I seriously wonder whether any people in commercial business like them will dare try this again.
We can dream, Andrew. I don't know about that.
Oh, this is so hilarious. We can dream. This breaks him up like he's never laughed before. And I can guarantee you, there's one thing this woman isn't, and that's a comedian.
No, but this group, Australian Venue Co., is well known for their DEI initiatives. And so obviously this was just another tenant of that. And the thing with a black backflip like this is the damage is done. People have already circulated the list of your 200 pubs and said, backflip or no backflip, we are boycotting you guys because you've already shown your hand. We already know where your values lie. We get to put our money wherever we like, and we're not giving it to you. And Louise was very right to bring up the shareholders, because this is what I do every time one of these companies does this. When Woolworths did it, I was telling everyone who would listen, 2 of their top...
Well, hopefully there aren't all that many of the people that listen to you, Liz, because you're just a lot of hot air and about as vacuumed as they come. But what it does tell us is that there is that this hospitality group did apologise, right, and did want to change all of this. And this is quite clear in this article in the ABC, on the ABC. Hospitality Group apologises after reportedly telling pubs not to celebrate Australia. Still don't know what it means not to celebrate Australia Day. Australia Venue Company, AVC, has expressed regret after reportedly telling its venue managers not to celebrate Australia Day next year. In a statement, it acknowledged the comments caused both concern and confusion and said it did not intend to offend anyone, which is fair enough. AVC is one of Australia's biggest hotel groups, more than 200 venues nationwide. A major venue company at the centre of stoush over Australia Day regrets the concern and confusion. It operates more than 200 pubs, said that. But a statement on Monday, AVC appeared to backtrack acknowledging his comments caused both concern and confusion. They talked about their regret. It certainly wasn't our intention to offend anyone. It added that the company employed 9,600 people and welcomed about 15 million patrons each year. Across our community of team members and patrons, many different views are held, and we acknowledge it. We have been and are always open over Australian Day, and we continue to book events for patrons. Australian Hotel Association SA President David Bashir said the association did not advise or tell its members what to do regarding Australia Day. Important to remember, adding it was something individual hotels had made their own decision about. So it wasn't necessarily a blanket edict from the company, AVC. The National Public Holiday has been rejected by some organisations and local governments due to the day it is celebrated, January 6th, with some members of the Indigenous community saying marks the day Britain colonised their land. It is often referred to as Invasion Day. Now let's have a look at some facts in relation to Australia Day. And let's just be clear about this. Britain's first fleet of 11 ships arrived at Botany Bay on January the 18th, 1788, after sailing from England on May the 13th previous year. The site has been chosen for settlement by the British government after it was visited by Captain Cook aboard the HMB Endeavour in 1770. Upon landing, Captain Cook was challenged by two members of the Guagu clan of the Dwarrawan people who threw spears and rocks before they were shot at with muskets, and one of them was wounded. When the first fleet arrived in 1788, Commander Arthur Phillip deemed the site unsuitable for setting up a colony, and this fleet sailed on to Port Jackson and now Sydney Harbour, where it arrived on January the 26th. It was only... Now, let's just take note of this. For those of you that think Australia Day has been here for centuries, think again. It was only in 1994 that January the 26th became a permanent national public holiday named Australia Day. What were pubs doing before that, I wonder? Some states previously marked Australia Day on a Monday or Friday in the last week of January to make it a long weekend, not necessarily the 26th either, I hasten to add. Despite the scope of national celebrations declining since the 2000 due to ongoing controversy and protests, successive Australian governments have rejected pressure to change the date. So the issue for me is, firstly, Australia Day hasn't always been here. Secondly, there have been protests in relation to Australia Day because for some people, including myself, it's a day of invasion. It's a day when we chose to denigrate the people that were the natural owners of this land, and as a result of that, we ignored them, and we ignored them for well over 100 years. So it's an issue, okay? But if you think it's a degree of celebrating whether you're Australian or not, which is what Bolt would contend, then the reality is that we can be Australian and not necessarily go along with the narrative that is expressed by the right wing. I love this country. We've got lots and lots of freedoms, and we have freedom of speech. And we can say most things in a way which means we're not going to be pillared by others. And I am saying that if you want to go out on Australia Day and have a barbecue, get some beer, do whatever you want to do, go down to your local pub, have a lunch with your family, fine, do it. Who cares? If you want to celebrate Australian Day as Invasion Day and you want to rally around that and have that as a discussion point, fine. If you wish to change the day to another day that is not the 26th of January, then fine. Let's talk about doing that as well. But let's not just call it woke because a pub or a group of pubs or pubs have been advised not to do an Australian Day celebration, for which we don't know what that really means anyway. So again, Sky News at their best, doing all that they can to make us think about whatever wokeness actually is. So again, trying to sell disinformation, misinformation, and trying to mislead the community, which is something they're actually pretty good at. So if you care to subscribe to my channel or ring the bell, please do so. Love to hear what you say in the comment sections below. And I'm sure that there will be plenty of you who will have a lot to say and they'll be fine. I'm looking forward to seeing your comments. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.